skaters, welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. I am Coach Julia, and today we're coming to you from the park because I have decided to do our first Q&A of the year. I haven't done one of these in a few months, so I'm really excited to check out your questions and see what kind of answers I can give you. So we're going to start with this question from Ash B5436. She asks, I don't know if you've answered this before, but how can you tell if a boot is broken in? Also, how can you tell if you've been over booted? That's a really interesting question. So breaking in boots is a really important process once you get your new pair of skates. And I have a whole video on how to break down your boots, and I can post a link to that in the comments. So if you have a new pair of skates, you want to spend some time carefully breaking them in before you go into your more intense jumps and spins and that kind of thing. So make sure you take that time. But how do you tell if they are broken in enough? So you want to get to a point where your skates feel like they're an extension of your body. You want your boot to feel like it is part of your foot. If you're skating and your skate feels like it is moving slightly separately than your foot, that may mean that it's not tied well enough, but it often just means it's not broken in well enough. So you want to feel that the tongue has molded itself to the front of your ankle. That's the most important thing. If your tongue feels like it's popping off of your ankle, you're not going to have it fully broken in yet. And if you do too intense of skills, that tongue is going to break in incorrectly. So the first thing to look for is your tongue molded to the front of your ankle? And then you just want to make sure that when you're lacing it from the sides, there's not a gap between the side of the boot and the tongue. So if your boot is still standing up so much that you can see a gap between the boot and the tongue, it's not broken in yet. You want that tongue to be able to mold and the boot to be able to mold and connect to the tongue. So once you've achieved both of those two things, the tongue molded to your ankle and the sides of the boot molded to the tongue, you know your boot is broken in well enough to be able to start doing your more advanced skating skills. The other part of that question is, how do you know if you've been over booted? This is a little bit more difficult to answer, but it basically comes down to this. If you can't get your boot broken in, if it's too stiff for you, and you can't get it broken in over the course of a couple of months, you've probably outbooted yourself. So sometimes you will have a skate that you've gotten that you're thinking you're going to grow into, or your skills are going to advance to match the quality of that boot. But if you're not a strong enough skater yet, you're not going to be able to get that leather broken down because they're built for people to do really difficult things like quads, right? So if you can't get that boot to break in about 3 months, then you probably have overbooted yourself. This one gave me a little bit of a chuckle when I read it. It's from Nadia Cranky 8524. She asks, is a toe loop and a waltz jump the same? Are they the same jump? They are not the same jump. And I have a tutorial for both the toe loop jump and the waltz jump. They are different techniques, different jumps. But the reason it made me laugh is because people often do the toe loop jump incorrectly and it turns into a waltz jump. So if you're doing a toe loop jump incorrectly, you'll actually turn forwards before taking off, and then it becomes a waltz jump. Whereas a toe loop should be a 3/4 rotation jump, and you should take off from the side. So I laughed because a waltz jump goes from forward to backwards. It's a half rotation jump. And a toe loop, oh my goodness, on my tutorial I talk about incorrect technique on a toe loop and how if you do it wrong, us coaches call it a toe waltz jump because you're starting out like a toe loop and then you're changing and you're doing a waltz jump. But you do want those jumps to be two very separate, distinct jumps. Each jump has its own name and its own qualities or characteristics that make it unique. So as you're learning your jumps, you want to really make sure you're paying attention to what edge you're taking off of, what foot, what direction. Is it a toe jump? Is it an edge jump? So every single jump that has a different name has unique qualities that set it aside from all of the others. This question is from Kim Lee 7763. She says, do you spin on the rocker on both feet while doing a 2-foot spin? I saw another tutorial that said to spin on the rocker on one foot and the heel on the other. So this was on my 2-foot spin tutorial. It's a great question. So I have taught several people who are roller skaters and are converting over to ice skating. And this is a roller skating technique where one foot is going to be going forward on the toe and the other is going to be going backward on the heel. That does not work in figure skating, and it's been one of the challenges that I've had when trying to help a roller skater convert to ice. Both feet should spin on the rocker or the ball of the foot. So a 2-foot spin, you want to be able to really easily convert over to a 1-foot spin. And so if you're going backward on your, well, let's see, if you're a counterclockwise rotating skater like I am, you're going to be going backward on your left and forward on your right. Otherwise, you'll be going the reverse, backward on the right, forward on the left. The backward foot needs to be on the ball of the foot, okay? So when you enter a forward 1-foot spin, you're going to be going forward on the left, make a 3-turn, and then go backward on the left. And you need to practice that feeling of balancing with the toes and the heel slightly lifted and skating on the rocker. If you get used to skating back on the heel, you're never going to be able to do a proper 1-foot spin. Same goes for your forward spin on a 2-foot. So you have 1 foot going forward, 1 foot going backward. If your forward spin is on the heel, then when you try to learn how to do backward 1-foot spins or backward scratch spins or backward sit spins, you're going to be in the wrong position. You need to practice on a 2-foot being up on that rocker, so when you do your backward spins, you're already ready. The muscles in your foot have developed so you can do your back spin correctly. So the short answer is you want both feet to be on the ball of your foot on a 2-foot spin. This question is from Academic 684. They say, please advise on how to strengthen the weak side. Mine is on the left foot or leg, so practicing that side is hard. Okay, the short answer is you have to do it a lot. So we all have a weaker side. Just like it's easier to write your name with one hand and the other hand might be a little weaker, it might be sloppier, the same thing applies to all of our skating. So we're gonna have a stronger side for 3 turns, a stronger side for crossovers, all of those things. We're gonna feel one side is more natural and easy to learn, and the other side is gonna be quite difficult to learn. To improve the hard side, you have to do it a lot. And you have to be very careful to think about what your technique is and make sure that you're applying the same exact technique on your harder side. I have a student who is really, really good at any of the 3 turns on her that go counterclockwise. They're all super smooth and almost can't go clockwise at all. It's a big, big struggle. And we actually had a lesson yesterday, and I was realizing she's positioning her body in a completely different way on her more difficult side. And so we spent time working on making the technique on the difficult side match the technique on the easy side. So make sure you're doing the same technique on both sides and practice it. I'd say practice your hard side at least double of your easy side. This is another one that gave me a little bit of a chuckle. This is from Kaylin Nashton 06. She says, I have bigger thighs. How far do I have to cross over? And she is talking about doing forward crossovers. I've actually had students in group classes talk to me about this also. They feel like because the thighs are a little bit bigger, they can't get their legs crossed. And I understand this can feel like a challenge, but it actually is more in your knees. So you want to be bending in the ankles and the knees, and that's going to help you get your legs crossed. It's not so much at the top of your legs that are crossing. You can bend, and that gives you better ability to get your legs crossed. The unfortunate thing is you still need to try to achieve the same amount of cross as anybody else. So when you're in a forward crossover and your feet are in their natural position, you're going to push and you want to get your feet completely reversed. Okay? And if you have bigger legs, this can be difficult. You're going to want to step out over here or even in front, okay? And you're going to line up this way. But this is going to cause you to have to push with your toe picks. And we do not want toe pick technique on these crossovers. We never want to push with our toe picks in figure skating. So you're going to push and you're going to really bend your legs and then lean. All right, if you can bend your knees and feel more of a lean with your body, it'll be easier, I'm not saying easy, but easier to get your feet crossed into the proper position, no matter what size legs you have. This question is from YJ Choi 17. All right, they said, they left this on a previous Q&A video. They said, thanks for answering the Lutz question, now to the other ones. Etiquette. When 2 people happen to end up skating towards each other, is there like an unwritten rule as to which side you should move to avoid colliding? Once I dodged to my right and the other skater to her left, and we hit the brakes at the last second. There is definitely an etiquette to how we skate around a figure skating session. If you go on a freestyle session, there's a sort of map to where things happen. We generally spin in the middle, we jump on the edges. There's two corners that we do. We call the Lutz corner because people jump their Lutzes in those corners. But there's always, there's exceptions to every rule. If someone's doing a skating program, they are going to be doing their jumps and their spins and their choreography all over the rink. So that's not going to follow the etiquette rule. If they're working on moves in the field tests or skating skills tests, those have patterns, and so those are going to conflict with all those different etiquette rules. And if someone's in a lesson, their coach might be wanting to have them work on a line or work on circles. And so while there is a general map and a general etiquette to where you practice on the ice, there's always exceptions to the rule. There are a few other etiquette things, like if someone has their music on the loudspeaker, they have the right of way. Doesn't matter if you're in a lesson, the person with their music on the loudspeaker has the right of way. So everyone clears out of the way of the person who's practicing their programs. The next sort of in the hierarchy would be someone having a lesson. So you have programs first. Anyone in a private lesson, they have the next most important right of way on the ice. So you don't want to get in the way of someone who's doing something in a private lesson. Everyone else who's practicing comes at the bottom. Now, as far as if you're about to collide with another skater, there is not a specific right of way. Like, there isn't you go to the right or you go to the left. Generally, the more advanced skater has better ability to dodge. So if you have two skaters and one is more beginner than the other, the more advanced skater has the responsibility to try to go around the beginner. It might not feel that way. The more advanced skater often feels like they've earned a right to be out on the ice and people should get out of their way. They're really good, okay? But if you have someone who's not as good, they can't dodge as well, right? If you have someone who's moving more slowly, who doesn't have as good technique with their turns and things, they're not going to be able to get out of your way as well. So generally speaking, the person who has better skating skills should work hard to dodge the person who's less advanced. That being said, less advanced skaters need to work really, really hard to watch out for what's going on around them to make sure that they aren't inadvertently getting in the way of other skaters. So if I have a beginner who's on a figure skating session, I often pull them over to the edges to work so that they're most likely to be able to stay out of the way of all of the other skaters. This next question is from Blocka 123456. It says, which one should I do next? I love all your videos, but I'm totally lost with the skating levels, and that frustrates me. I would love to learn step by step everything I should do or master on the ice. But even with your amazing video lists, I just don't know where or how to proceed. I hear you, and to answer your question, I'm very excited to announce that I am launching the Coach Julia Club in just 2 weeks on February 23rd. Take a look at this. For years on YouTube, skaters have been saying that they love all of the instruction, all the videos, but they don't know what order to learn them in. People have also asked for like an organized curriculum or even a checklist that shows the order to learn all of the different skills in. Well, I have been listening. In the Coach Julia Club, you will get all of my instruction, some of it from YouTube, some of it exclusive to the club, organized into progressive learning courses. If you're a brand new skater, you will want to start with level 1 and work your way up through the 25 to 30 different skills covered in each level. Or if you've been skating longer, you can choose a more challenging course starting point to best help you improve your skills. With courses starting at the very easiest level all the way through advanced skating skills and drills, there is something for every skater in the Coach Julia Club. You'll also have access to a private community where you can chat with other club members. You'll have access to live sessions with me, club member only supplemental resources like diagrams, workbooks, music, that kind of thing, and some special members only swag. I hope to see all of you here in the Coach Julia Club.